Thank you, Sandy. So I'm going to present you the current status of the support of fentISS products to the GR740 board. Okay, this is the outline of the presentation. I would briefly introduce fentISS to the ones that don't know it. Then I will introduce what is XNG with the features, the comparison with previous versions of the products, and finally the current status over the GR740. fentISS. fentISS is an acronym which stands for Fent Innovative Software Solutions. It's a spin-off of the UPV, the Polytechnic University of Valencia. And we are a small enterprise developing embedded software system software for mixed criticality applications. We can say that fentISS enables that critical and non-critical applications can share a common hardware platform without interfering one another in terms of, for example, error propagation between applications. Our business is focused mainly in the aerospace market. Currently, we are orbiting Earth with more than 500 satellites using our products. Furthermore, XNG has been selected for 6 additional satellite constellations and mini satellites as the onboard computer, and in 5 conventional missions, understanding conventional mission like as large satellites mainly in the payloads. Here you can see the products of fentISS. We have our main product, which is the Type 1 hypervisor, qualified. It's called, as you know, Stratum, which provides the time and space partitioning to the applications. And around it, we have built an ecosystem, a software ecosystem, which provides, for example, the Stratum runtime environment, which is a minimum executable system. It's not an operating system. And then we also provide Lithos, which is our ARIN 653 Part 1 compliant operating system. Then we also provide board packages, board support packages for some other operating systems, such as RTEMS and Linux. And then we also provide support tools for the configuration of the hypervisor, for the scheduling, for the simulation, emulation, for the observability, etc. But then we also provide services. For example, support to our customers, porting and customization of our products, and also training. Here you can see a graphical representation of our products. The orange boxes correspond to the products of fentISS. And well, we will go a little bit deeper later on to this figure. What is XNG? XNG stands for, oops, there is some echo. Okay, it seems already solved. Yeah, thank you. XNG stands for Stratum Next Generation. It's as I said, it's a Type 1 hypervisor, bare metal partitioning kernel, providing time and space isolation over the same hardware platform aimed for safety mixed criticality applications. This version of Stratum is a complete rewrite of the Stratum hypervisor that builds on the cumulative experience after working for more than, I would say, 15 years in the development of the Stratum RD variants. For example, Stratum 2, 3, 4, Stratum qualified, etc. Among all the supported architectures, XNG now supports the Spark V8 architecture in Level 4 processor in the GR740 board. This hypervisor is ECS category B qualified under a set of architectures. The board is not new for fentISS. We released in 2010 Stratum 4, which was the first version supporting Leon 4 in the GR740 board in a multi-core configuration. Later on, Stratum 4 was integrated in our main product, which was called Stratum Qualified XMQ, that supported and supports Leon 3.4 in GR712, 740 multi-core configurations. But Stratum 4 and Stratum Qualified are discontinued in favor of XNG. This means that fentISS is pushing for Stratum next generation. Some of the features of Stratum next generation are the next. It offers an static cycling scheduling policy. Also provides a static configuration through XML files, for example, to define and configure the system, distribute resources, etc. It introduced the concept of partitions to the user applications. A partition can be understood as an execution environment which is isolated in time and in space for user applications. It runs in a partition in virtual environment, execution environment that mimics all the underlying hardware. The partition can communicate each other by means of inter-partition communication mechanism, and also I/O devices or interrupts can be delegated exclusively to partitions. Stratum Next Generation provides a C interface for its services. There are named hypercalls. It allows the hardware platform management, and also the hypercalls allows to manage the hypervisor or the hypervisor itself or the partition, for example, to call, warn, reset, halt, or retrieve the status of the hypervisor or the partitions. The interpartition communication mechanisms, which are the sampling and queuing ports, they are inspired in the RN653 communication mechanisms. It also provides interpartition virtual interrupts, and also the health monitoring support, also inspired in the RN653. Finally, it offers tracing support. We have here again the typical, the previous figure, which is the typical software stack. We have here the hardware and the type 1 hypervisor covering all the hardware, and offering, in this case, 4 execution environments isolated in time and in space. In the first one, we have an application that runs in what I said before, Stratum execution runtime, which is not an operating system, but a minimal system to build an application. We could say that it's the application it's a bare metal application over Stratum. Then we have the other 3 applications runs separately in partitions based on operating system. The first one is Lithos, which is our RN653 Part 1 compliant operating system, and the other 2 are based on RTEMS and Linux. That fentISS provides the BSP for each of the operating systems. A BSP is basically an interface between the operating systems and Stratum in order to make it run. Here, some comparison between XNG, Stratum Next Generation, and the previous versions, some previous version of Stratum. For example, Stratum 4 was limited to 1 architecture, 1 processor, and 1 board, while XMQ was only limited to 1 architecture, but XNG was, as I said, was completely redesigned to support many architectures, many processors, many boards, but sharing common parts between all of them. Furthermore, Stratum Next Generation keeps the application interface and functionality among all its versions, opposite to XM4 or XMQ. This means that porting an application running in a XNG version porting to another version of XNG, it's direct with no modifications. Extractum next generation also includes more support tools than the previous versions, specifically observability tools and tracy logs facility. Due to the new design of the hypervisor, the Extractum next generation has better maintainability and scalability. And its development life cycle is oriented to XESS E40 Q80. Finally, XMQ is released as a software development kit under a proprietary license. Here we have some information about the current status of XNG over the GR740 board. XNG is currently available as a prototype. But what is a prototype? We understand prototype as a fully functional version of the hypervisor, but is not qualified. About the XESS qualification, currently is not in the midterm roadmap of fentISS, the qualification, but it can be addressed under any customer request. Regarding the operating system running on this version of XNG, the same as before. There is no operating system porting yet, but it can be addressed if some customers is interested. Finally, it's worth to mention that the support of Leon 5 processor and XESS qualification is in the long-term roadmap of fentISS. And with this, I'm done. Thank you very much.